Welcome everyone to IronFury Plays Trampoline Terror for the Sega Genesis, brought to you by NCS DreamWorks. And let's get into the options first. I'll keep the difficulty as is, but I'm going to set it to 5 lives instead of 3. Trust me, I'll need every life I can get. This game is not easy. Anyway, what is Trampoline Terror? Trampoline Terror is a puzzle platformer. Controls: you jump with A or C, and you have these things here called P-balls. You throw them by pressing B. P-balls can be used to kill enemies, like so. Now, the whole point of this game is we are trying to collect some switches, but we have trampolines here. You jump, they change colors. You go from green to blue to yellow to red, and after red, that's it. The trampoline is gone. Now, of course, we have these switches here, and if you collect switches of the same color, they do different things after 2 switches. In this case, we are going to collect 4 yellow switches, and all yellow switches are good for is points. They don't do anything special. The other colors, however, do, and we will explain that in later levels when there is enough to actually show what they can do. If you throw a P-ball while on trampolines, then the P-ball will bounce with the trampolines, and if there's no place for it to land, then it falls into the abyss. Nothing you can do about that. Anyway, stage 1 clear. I guess I'll talk about Trampoline Terror and my experiences with it. I did not own this game as a kid, but I had a neighbor who did, and I played the hell out of it whenever I would go to his house. And I always had a good time. The game was hard as hell for me back then, and it's still hard now. But, yeah. I guess I'll explain the jumping mechanics now, too. When you jump, you basically can go the distance of 1 tile. If you jump on a trampoline, same thing. But if you press the A button as you're jumping off the trampoline, then you will go the distance of 2 tiles. You will need to know this for later. It'll help you immensely. It's not good to drink while you're doing this, but I'm having me a Snapple. Anyway, now we have the level that basically kind of teaches you what these things do. Oh god, I died. Yeah, this is the game's way of teaching you what these switches do. They never actually explain it, but they want you to figure it out. If you get 3 red switches, you will freeze the enemies in place. If you get 4, you will kill them. It is not permanent. Remember that. 3 green switches will restore all the trampolines up 1 setting. 4 will give you a 1-up. As I already stated before, yellow will give you points. 3 blue switches will give you invincibility. 4 blue switches will have you beat a level automatically. It's not the best decision when it comes to trying to get points, but if you're on a level that's too difficult, and trust me, those will happen, and you just want to get the hell out of there quickly, if you can get the 4 blue switches, by all means, I recommend it. So anyway, as I was trying to say before, enemies, when you kill them, they do respawn pretty quickly. So essentially what you want to do is you want to get rid of them, and then you want to move. Do not take your sweet time. Now in this case, you can, you know, take your time a little bit, but you can't take too much time because there actually is a time limit, kinda, sorta. It's kind of like the Bubble Bobble version of a time limit. If you take too long, there's an indestructible enemy that will come out and kill you, essentially. Anyway, this game kind of splits up into worlds. Every 4 levels is considered a world, and we just beat level 4. So when we move on to level 5, we're going to be in a whole new setting. In this case, we're in kind of a desert kind of setting, and we're going to be introduced to a new enemy, and this enemy is the bane of my existence, the Bullet. This guy is a relentless asshole who will continue to follow you forever. In this case, right now we have enough room that we can maneuver around him relatively easily. Later on, we will not have that luxury. the bullet will move north, south, east, and west, and it will move 3 tiles worth of distance. Trust me, later on, that becomes a nightmare. But right now, other than the bullet, we have the standard enemies, the turtle cars, the flying saucers. The bullet is definitely the worst enemy that we've run into so far, and he will be for the foreseeable future. But there are other enemies in this game that are pretty douchey as well, especially in tandem with the bullet. But right now, it's not too bad. Alright, next stage, we already have a new lesson. They gave us 5 P blocks. One problem, or P balls, I should say. One problem. We can only carry 4 at a time. Also, a new enemy introduced, the robot rabbits. They're not really anything to worry about. They pretty much function just like the turtle cars. They'll follow you, but they're slow. Very easy to take out. The flying saucers are more of a pain in the ass than they are. As I've stated several times, right now we're still early on in the game, so we can relax a little bit. That doesn't mean take too long, but like I said, you know, we're not in panic mode yet. You're going to be jumping a lot. It's just easier to get around that way. Oh, also, I guess I should explain how the maps work. If you can't figure it out, or if you haven't noticed yet, it basically repeats. If you go to the bottom of the level, you'll see the top of the level on the other side. And that can play with your head a little bit, but it's not so bad right now. And a new mechanic, disappearing, reappearing platforms. Nothing really major here. They will be major later on, but right now they're not so bad because they place trampolines in spots where we can essentially ignore those reappearing and disappearing platforms if we ever want to go back to the center. Of course, they got the bullet here. He's an asshole. He'll continue to be. But as I stated, right now there's enough room here that we can get around the bullet pretty easily. This continues to bear repeating. I'll keep saying this until I'm blue in the face. But there is a certain point in this game where it takes the kid gloves off, and you've probably already seen it if you watched the preview. But that specific level is where the game basically says, alright, I want you dead. And we just got a couple of switches left to go here. Now, the bullet can be taken out with a P-ball. All the enemies in this game can be taken out with a P-ball. But, like all the other enemies, it will come back within seconds. So you need to be very careful of that. And you need to plan accordingly. Most of the time, the P-ball is really only there to give you a quick way to get around something. But it's not the be-all, end-all. You're never going to get rid of an enemy permanently. But trust me, you'll be thankful whenever you have P-balls with you. But anyway, that's that level taken care of. Moving on to Stage 8, the final stage of this particular set of levels. And we now have to deal with jumping diagonally. This is a technique that you're going to want to get used to because it will save your life. Another thing that I didn't explain yet, enemies that happen to be on exploding switches, they will fall to the abyss, and that is another way of getting rid of them. Of course, like anything else, it is not permanent. They will respawn. Another thing, too, there's some mechanics you want to pick up on that this game does not tell you, but you will need to know. When you are dealing with the switches and the trampolines, believe it or not, you can walk on the sides of them without triggering them. course, when it comes to the trampolines, you have to actually be jumping in order to trigger the changes. You can walk over trampolines just fine, normally. But, yeah, something that you should know, and I can't believe I died when I only had 2 switches left. Losing lives this early on is not a good thing. You do need all the lives you can get. These flying saucers do not help. Sometimes enemies can corner you real bad, and yeah, sometimes you just have no place to go, and they will take you out. It's not necessarily anything to be ashamed of if you die this early on, but it's more along the lines of, you need every single bit of help you can get. And dying this early on can cripple you later on, because you only have so many continues in this game. And yeah, you only get 5 continues. So you don't want to use any if you can help it. You will be, but you want to save those for later on, if you can help it at all. Oh god, this guy's cornering me. Thankfully, you can jump over enemies. That's not an issue. Of course, later on, the game will dick with you to do that, but that is it for this level. And that is it for this video. Next time, we move on to a new world, and the game will ramp itself up a little bit.